In addition to assumption of similarity, we also have, and this is kind of part of it, unconscious biases where we are naturally less comfortable around people that are different than us. It's totally unconscious. We might not even realize it's happening. Or we might make decisions based on our unconscious bias that are not correct, that are not good decisions. Google made a great video actually that describes this, and so I'm just going to let them do the description.
What would the world look like if everybody were aware of the stereotypes that they have and the biases that they have? When we talk about unconscious bias, we're basically saying our worldview can actually exert an influence beyond our conscious awareness, and it creates ambiguity.
You go to an engineer who's built something extremely innovative, and you say, who do you think your user is? This is where I have the most fun. My name is T.B. Raman, and I led our work on Android accessibility for 3 years. Write down everything that you think you know about your user with respect to abilities, inabilities, special abilities, disabilities. Almost every assumption that you write down on that whiteboard about this is the user I think I'm building for is questionable, because our various unconscious biases define the boundaries you're unwilling to expand.
These biases, they're the shortcuts that our brain has created so that we can deal with the information that we process every single day.
Right when we see anyone, whether we think about it or not, we are implicitly, automatically making judgments about how warm, incompetent that person or thing is.
All humans need to make decisions, and so we fill in the blanks because our brains are wired to do that, and we fill in with things we don't know with, past experience. Oh, you pattern map to someone I think I should hire, so I'm going to hire you versus this person because they didn't map, because I can't fill in the blank because they don't look like me, or they're not from my same background, and so I can't see how they're going to make the jump.
Every single person is great at things that you may not expect them to be, but it's really hard for us to see that when we're so powerfully guided by the things we expect to be true in the world.
I grew up surrounded with this conversation about what you can't do and what you won't be able to do. My name's Enrico, and I'm an autistic software engineer. The first time I go through the performance review process, I was asked for 5 strengths. It was the first time that I had ever been prompted to think in that way about myself, and it was really a life-changing moment for me.
When we are working in our day-to-day jobs, we are still making judgments about the people around us, about the resumes we see, about the employees that we're trying to decide whether to put them on teams or not.
People are very wedded to the idea that they can perceive something objectively, and statistically they're wrong, but it's hard. You become attached to this idea that you can assess something by looking at it.
These subtle assumptions we make about people can have lasting effects on who we're promoting, who we're hiring, who we're putting in leadership positions. We have the responsibility to understand the assumptions that we make and understand the errors that we make.
But it's not just for the collective good. If you take the time to understand more about this, there are things that you can implement for yourself that'll help you develop as a leader and to do your job even better.
It made me realize how often I have a very strong belief that is simply incorrect. When I look at one of these evaluation situations, the first question is, how can I eliminate the sources of potential bias and leave just the data so we can actually make better decisions?
If you're not conscious of the biases that you have, you're just not contributing at the level that you could, and you're not innovating at the level you could. And so your products won't be as good. Your results won't be as good.
When you think outside the box with respect to the assumptions you made about how somebody would use this wonderful thing you built, and when you sort of broaden that perspective as to who you change the world for, you build something even bigger.
So yeah, unconscious bias is something else that we have to kind of battle against as well, and try to make sure that we're looking at the facts and the statistics, or not the statistics, but the facts and the details, instead of just responding emotionally. I like this definition of diversity. There are lots out there, but this is the only one I will share. Celebrating differences among people in a way that allows people to better understand and appreciate those differences. Diversity is about education. It's about helping other people understand us, each one of us, and understand each other. I really like the term celebrating differences. Instead of shunning differences or trying, even misunderstanding differences, we're celebrating them. We want differences, in fact. That's what that's implying. And I like that. That is how diversity should be seen. The reason why we celebrate differences, the reason why I like that, is because there's so much it offers. Creativity, so many more backgrounds. Because of that, we're going to have better problem solving. We're going to get different viewpoints instead of everybody seeing the same thing, and therefore nothing unique is brought up. And also be able to see the entire picture. If everybody's just like you, then you're missing a whole part of the picture. Within cultures and within diversity, there are different things that kind of make a culture what it is. These are just some of them, collectivism, individualism, power distance, masculinity, femininity, and uncertainty avoidance. But the two that you really need to remember are collectivism and individualism. They really, depending on whether you're working in a certain culture, you are going to operate differently. Some cultures are collectivist societies where the group is more important than the individual. This is very common in Asian culture, for example, where people will take on certain professions or do things for the good of their family or for the good of the country or for the good of the group. Cooperation, self-control, it's really all about the idea of kind of one for all. Like, you do what you need to do for the culture, not for you, but for the culture and for the group, for the society that you're in. Versus individualism, which is the opposite. This is more like American society where we're really only watching out for ourselves. And so our individual rights are really way more important than our duty to the whole. And as a leader, you have to change your leadership style. If you're in a collectivist society, then you need to reward people in a way, or motivate them in a way that would be motivating to them because they're collectivists. So you give them motivation that's based on the good of the group. Whereas if you're in an individual society, you say, okay, I'll give you the promotion. Or with kids, you'd say, I give you the sticker, you the cookie. And that is then what's going to motivate them, not dessert for the whole class, but dessert for themselves, kind of idea. And it's going to manifest itself differently in different cultures, but depending on where you are leading, you have to change your style from collectivist or individualist, depending on what's going to motivate the people that you're overseeing. I kind of just answered this question, but you change your motivations. If you're going to motivate them to be collectivists, then again, reward the group versus rewarding them individually. Within a culture, there are primary dimensions, and these are the ones that are given the most importance, and we're going to go through several of them. But these are the things that are most visibly different, things you notice right away about somebody. And unfortunately, they are considered the most important in society. And in the next section, we will break these down so that you understand them individually, what each dimension is, and how, as a leader, you can make people of different dimensions, different diversity style, different diversities, just different people. You can make them comfortable and welcome and understand the importance of your position and your job as a leader.